Hello and welcome to episode 5 of KMV Travel, the podcast. I'm Kelly and I'm here with Pat, and we are going to be going through something that's one of our favorite things to do in Disney World. Anywhere we go, but especially in Disney World, going to some of the best bars on property. So Pat, why did you want to talk about this today, other than the obvious?
I mean, why didn't I want to talk about this? I feel like there's, especially when like the first couple times you go to Disney World, there's an overwhelming number of places to go and have a drink. Some places that you can probably just avoid altogether. Some places you definitely should not miss. So I thought it would be a good idea to just talk about our favorite bars, and say why we like them and why we would recommend that you don't skip that on your trip.
Yeah, I have to say we've done a lot of research, so we feel like we're really aficionados when it comes to Disney bars. I think we have a lot to offer when it comes to this topic.
Yeah, and what we're each going to do is we're each going to give our top five. And I feel like I had a really hard time narrowing it down to 5 bars because there's so many I could talk about. There are a ton of really good bars on property at the resorts and in Disney Springs, which are the areas we're going to cover. Um, and, being close to some of these bars or just being close to property in general has kind of spoiled some of the bars for me. So we'll talk about that when we get there. But there's definitely a few that, um, you know, I think a lot of people love and won't be on our top list, but there's a reason why, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, well, I think we have to start off our discussion at bars with a cheers. Chin chin. Um, so if you're watching this on YouTube, and you're not just listening to it, you can see our glasses. So Pat told me that no one cares, but I need to share anyway. This is a wine glass, and I have seltzer in it right now, from 1901, which is the Club 33 location in Disney's California Adventure, which I was able to visit last weekend. So this is the first Club 33 that I've gotten the chance to go inside and see. And it was as amazing as I thought it was going to be. But I got to have an amazing gin martini there, and it was great. So now I have a wine glass to always remember that by.
Thank you
But
so much for the invite.
Pat was invited on this trip to Disneyland, but he said no. So this is what happens when you stay home with the babies. But he did have to stay at home with the baby, so I did feel bad. But it just means we have to go back, and we have like how many other Club 33s that we have to somehow wiggle our way into. So
All of
we've
them.
we've got some things, yeah. And Pat, you are drinking out of a special glass too.
Yeah, so not the real one, but I can't really see with my background, but it is a specially shaped glass. This is very similar to what they have in Oga's Cantina. This is the glass they serve the beers in. So obviously we bought a set that looks similar because those are not available for purchase. So uh, yeah, figured we'd stay on theme and stay with drinkware from some of our favorite bars.
Yeah. Um, so we can jump into talking about our favorite bars, but before we do, I was doing some research, and supposedly there's 150, over 150 bars or lounges at Walt Disney World. And I did in fact go through and write them all out, and I didn't get 150. So I don't know about that, but maybe they're talking about like the carts where you can get a beer from or things like that. But
I
we're not
see
going to
your
go through all of them.
I see your list and I don't see a single Joffrey's and they serve alcohol.
I know. Well, that's what I'm like. So are they counting those?
They
But
are.
needless to say, there are a lot of options. So we'll start talking through it, and I think we have some different things on our lists. So Pat, I'll let you start off with. We'll go from 5 to 1. So why don't you start with your number 5?
Okay, my number 5 bar is a lot of people's number 1 favorite bar, and that's Trader Sam's Grotto and Tiki Bar, and that's in the Disney Polynesian Resort. I think there's a lot to like about this bar, but there's also a lot to not like about this bar. Um, there is very consistently a long line to get in. Typically, people will line up about an hour before the bar opens, put their name on the list. There are no reservations, so you have to go and put your name on ahead. The location here in Walt Disney World is quite a bit smaller than the one in Disneyland. So um, it tends to fill up very quickly. And then even when you do get in there, the service is not the most expedient. So it does take a long time for your name to get called. And um, there's a lot of really fun drinks and a lot of things that happen when you order different drinks. So definitely a fun experience, but for me, it can't be any higher because of how long it takes to get into the bar, and how much kind of planning ahead you really do need to do in order to get a seat at the bar. So that's my number five, and my favorite drink from there is the Spiced Island, which is a Knob Creek centric drink. So bourbon drink. You're gonna see a theme here on my list of bourbon drinks. But yeah, that's my number five bar and my favorite drink there.
So I was surprised that you put Trader Sam's on your list. I think for many reasons. One being that we've been to the one at Disneyland, which is just supreme. I mean, it is not the same. It's not the Grog Grotto. It's the Tiki Terrace there. So different kind of look and everything. But I like the original Trader Sam's better. And I know you did as well.
Disneyland's
It's
not part of this list.
I know, I know. I'm just surprised having had that experience that you would rank it that high. But, we learn new things all the time. Um, I think the other thing that gets me with this one is like what you said, like how long you have to wait for this. Um, and sometimes it's like you'll put your name down and then you don't even get called because like
Mhm.
the place is shut down before your name is even getting called up. Um, I think that's why I don't put this one on there. Also, for me, I'm a gin drinker, so there is one gin drink in the Disneyland menu that I don't like, and then
Mhm.
there's no gin drinks on this menu. So for me, I just am kind of like a lot of the drinks are rum based because it's tiki, it's kind of got that
Elevation theme, yeah.
island. Yeah. So I'm just not a huge fan, but I will say it is one that you have to do at least once. And there are some really cool drinks like you're talking about, like the Nautilus is one that literally comes in like the Nautilus from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and it's made for two people. So it's a big drink.
Or one,
Um,
whatever.
I mean, yeah,
Don't
but
judge.
so you get two straws in it and everything. But there's a couple of those. And then like Pat was saying, where there's certain things that happen when you order these drinks. So like there's one that's like a pearl drink and they actually pull it out of this huge clamshell. There's other ones where they're like squirting water and everything. So there's a lot that goes on. It's definitely an experience more than just a bar.
Very, very themed, yeah, and that's one of the reasons why it did make it onto my list, because if you're looking for just a regular drink, maybe not where you want to go, but this is a full-on experience where everything is highly themed and it's just a fun time, and you don't necessarily have to be sitting in there drinking a ton to have a good time. A lot of fun
Yeah.
things going on.
Yeah, and a good point too to bring up is that Polynesian, that's not the only bar that's there. So if you go and you're like, I can't get in, there's other places. And I think that's also a part of why this is one of your favorite bars too, right? Because of the two locations, basically.
Yeah, they have the outdoor section, which I've been informed is technically a different bar and doesn't count. But yeah, there is a nice outdoor area where if it is a nice night or a nice day, you can go sit outside. There's a quick service location right near where you can go grab something to eat and sit out on the patio and have a drink. They have a decent selection of beer out there too, which the Kona that I'm drinking right now is one of the ones offered out there. Um, but overall, yeah, I think the location is good. Um, and there's things to do while you wait. So other areas to go.
Yeah, and just a note on that too. So there are those two different locations. If you go to the outside, which is going to be the patio area, that's you can get the same exact drink menu. So you can order anything that you want up there, but any of the specialty cups are not going to be a part of that. So you're going to get it in just a plastic cup. So if you really want the experience, obviously you go inside, but it's very difficult to sometimes get a seat. I would recommend if you are going to do Trader Sam's, to get there at least an hour before it opens to get your name down. They will start taking names down about 15 minutes prior to opening, which I believe opening's at 3. So around 2:45 is when they'll start taking them, but you're going to see a line is wrapped around. And try to go on like a weekday because locals will be there on weekends. If it's raining, don't go because everyone has the same idea as you that they're going to sit inside and do that.
There is not room
But
for everyone.
yes, yeah, and
It is
there's
a
no
very
like
small bar.
limit. Yeah, there's no limit to how long someone can be in there. They kind of will continue to, serve and things. Obviously, they'll cut you off if you shouldn't be in there anymore. But it's not like an Oga's Cantina where it's like, you got 45 minutes, you can get 2 drinks, and then you're out. So just things to think about, but definitely I agree. It's one to put on your list if you are looking for a highly themed bar.
Yeah, and last point on Trader Sam's here. If you do get sat at one of the seats with the stool, people will be moving up and down very, very slowly over time. So if you feel like you're moving down and everyone's getting taller than you, that's part of it.
It's actually
Um,
happening.
yeah, it is actually happening. You are not just going crazy.
Yeah, that happened to me, and I was like looking up at Pat by the end, and it happens so slowly that you don't realize, and then you're just like, oh my gosh. So the guy across from me, we both like looked at each other because we both had gone, we were being
A good
pushed
foot
down.
lower than where you
Oh yeah,
started.
and we were just like, it was like our chin was at the table now. But it was funny. You get to talk to a lot of people because all of this is happening and you're kind of like in it together. So, but yes, very good point. It is a fun one. But those tables in the middle there, if you get the stool, just be prepared.
Cool. So what do you have as your number 5 bar?
So I have a caveat that I can't actually share until later, but I kind of went between two locations with this. And I landed on La Cava de Tequila in the Mexico Pavilion in Epcot, um, because I think that they have the best drinks on property. The atmosphere, if you've ever been in there, it's not the best like ambiance by any stretch of the imagination. But the drinks there are so good. They're also really good at like bringing out new drinks. So they just recently there was a one that's basically ranch water. So if you were on TikTok during lockdown, you know what ranch water is. Um, Topo Chico and tequila with lime, which is like a favorite of mine. So I'm very happy that they have that. But my favorite drink there is one that Pat actually turned me on to, and it's La Cava Avocado, right? Is the name?
Yeah, La Cava avocado.
Yeah, so good. It's
It's an
like a
avocado
shake.
margarita. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
but it's
they
like
they
the consistency.
yeah, they actually use whole avocado. Well, obviously not whole avocados. They peel it and take the seed out, but they blend in avocados with the drink, so it is a little thicker. It's really good. It's actually my favorite drink on property, and it killed me to not include the La Cava de Tequila in my top 5, but I did not.
Spoiler
But
alert.
yeah, well, we're not going
I'm
to
just
talk about it
kidding.
again. So, um, but I love that drink. I think I've only ever ordered that drink from there. I've never tried anything else because why go downhill from the best drink I've had? Um, yeah, I think the one thing I don't like about that you kind of covered is that there's really not anywhere to like sit down. There are tables in there, but if you're just ordering drinks, they're not going to let you sit down. It's for other services. So they have like the chips and salsa and some other things. And if you're going to do flights, they can let you in there. But really, it feels more like a to-go bar. So not going to complain because it's delicious, but that was the only reason why it didn't make my top 5.
So you can get a seat if you're just ordering drinks. That's just something that we've never done. We normally, if we are going to like stand at a table or get a seat, we're ordering like chips and
Yeah, but
queso or something.
you can never
So
walk right up there. There's always a wait.
yes, yeah, you can't really walk right up. But the way that they'll do it is usually they might have two separate lines. So they'll have one for kind of just like grab and go, and then there's one for if you want to sit down. And then other times they'll kind of go through and like line bust. So they'll say, like, are you waiting for a table? Are you just getting stuff? And then they'll kind of go about it that way. So there are tables in there, like you said, but they're very minimum, and it is a very loud area. Also, I never get service on my phone, so I don't love that. But um, the other thing that I wanted to mention with it too is La Cava actually does a tequila tasting experience, where they basically, I think it's a little over $100 to do, but you're getting a number of different tequilas that they're going through, and they're talking you through what the different tequilas are, the history of tequila, all these different things. Something that we've never done, because I don't know if we can
Should.
have that many tequilas. I mean, I think we're gonna have to try it. It's research, right?
Yeah.
But it is supposed to be a really cool experience, and that's something that you can book through the Disney app. But if you have a travel advisor, make sure that you reach out to them, and they can take care of that for you. But I've had some families that have done it and have nothing but great things to say about it. So that's something that you can do there. That's kind of like a little bit different than other places.
Cool.
Awesome. Um, all right. So let's move on to our number four. Would you like to start?
Yeah, I can kick it off. My number four is the Abracadabra on the boardwalk. Um, I like the way that this bar is kind of situated. It's not really ever super crowded because of its location, where it's like out of the park and not quite in a resort. So it's a little bit off the beaten path for a lot of people. That I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people don't really even know that it's there. It's kind of like I don't know, how would you even describe Abracadabra? Like almost I don't even know. I don't even know the words.
I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to go for, so I'm not sure. But it's basically the backstory of it is that it was a like the hangout for magicians back in the heyday of magic. And these magicians came together and basically they made it disappear. And now it has reappeared through additional magic that has taken place. So the interior is super highly designed, really cool. Lots of like red velvet and like exactly what you would think of as like,
Yeah.
a
Looks
magician.
like it's like almost like it's the stage
Yeah.
yeah, curtains.
Yeah,
That's the word.
you
I
see
can't
a
think
lot
of
of, there you
curtains.
go. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of like cool posters in there and things like that. Um, but I do want to say it's not completely like when Pat says it's not in a resort, it's really close to Boardwalk and Beach Club and Yacht Club. It's just kind of situated on the boardwalk, so it's not like you
Mhm.
get to it from inside of a resort. But still very easy to access if it is something that you're looking to do.
Yeah, and it's right out of the back entrance of Epcot too. So if you want to pop out of some of the craziness going on in Epcot and go into the air conditioning and sit down and have a nice drink, this is definitely a great spot to do it.
Mhm.
Especially if you're trying to wait for fireworks, but you don't want to be in some of the craziness in Epcot.
Can you
But
tell that Pat doesn't want to be in the craziness of fireworks?
I don't know if anyone knows that, but I don't love
Yeah.
it. And then my favorite drink from here is the Parlor Trick. It's Four Roses Bourbon Small Batch. It's basically a old fashioned, but slightly different. One of my favorite drinks I've had. So definitely would recommend that you try this one. Unless you don't like bourbon like Kelly, then probably don't.
Yeah, not my favorite. Um, but it's good because we have different tastes, so we try different drinks.
Yeah.
Um, but I thought about Abracadabra to put on my list because I think it is so highly themed, which is super cool. I love that. But also the boardwalk is supposed to be the based on like the heyday of the New Jersey boardwalk.
Hmm.
And being both of us being from New Jersey, and I literally went to school like a mile from the shore. I don't see it. Which I don't know. We were talking about this before, and I was like, I feel like this bar should be like Prohibition era. Like this should be like Boardwalk Empire type of a thing.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to take the Edison and like smush it down into a little tiny bar that we can place right there. And then I would think it would be great. But I do enjoy
Yeah.
Abracadabra.
Yeah, and I feel like I forgot the most important part, and that's that you can go get pizza that's actually pretty decent. Again, from people from New
Yes.
Jersey, pretty decent pizza outside on the boardwalk there, which uh, just adds to the experience.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a selling point for me, for sure. Yeah, nice. So should I move on to my number four?
Yeah, what do you have at number four?
Okay. So I went for something very different. The Steakhouse 71 Lounge. So the Steakhouse 71 Lounge is located in the Contemporary. And it's where the Wave used to be before we had the changeover kind of for the 50th celebration. And it is just, if you know me, it's super me. It's like very mid-century modern. You go in, there's like the, the Sputnik lights and everything. So I love the look of this area, but I also just really love the menu that they have. They have a great food menu. It's like, the appetizer kind of like bites, but you can get the famous cheeseburger from here that they have in Steakhouse 71. So you can order it on the menu here. They have a nice large bar that's kind of like a wraparound bar. They have TVs in there. So if you're looking for a spot to watch a game or something like that, this is a good spot. And then they have two kind of alcove areas that have a bunch of seating. So I just love the fact that this is not a super busy bar. Really great food, good drinks. The service is also always really good. And there's just a lot of space. Whereas that's something that I think that there's certain locations that the bars are awesome, like Tune In Lounge, for example, in Hollywood Studios, that's connected to 50s Primetime. Great, like location, cool bar, but there's just no seating. It's just a walk-up bar, where if they had that seating, I feel like that would probably rank higher for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that one. And I like a dry gin martini. So I feel like it goes right in with the mid-century modern vibe there. And that's my favorite drink. So
Yeah, I mean, I like it there as well. I just it couldn't crack the top five for me. It probably is 7 or 8. Um, I've never had a bad experience there. The food is terrific. That burger is great. Um, I don't think there was too many things on there, like in terms of like a specialty menu. So it is just a regular full service bar, which is nothing wrong with that. But just the way that I was ranking things, I don't think that I had it as high because there was not really too much theming on the drink side of things.
yeah, I'll agree. Like if you're looking for a themed bar, and really like imaginative drinks, this is not the one that I would recommend. But if you're looking for a very relaxing kind of chill spot to watch game or just hang out, this is always the one that I recommend.
Yeah. Or if you just want to grab a drink before you go into Magic Kingdom where you can't really drink, definitely a great spot's right next door. You can walk there
Yeah.
from the bar.
Yeah, or take the monorail if you want to take a little loop around. But this is, yeah, this is like kind of how I get Pat to go to Magic Kingdom, is like, do you want to stop at the lounge? He's like, yes.
The only way I'm going.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So number three, you want to take it away?
Sure. Yeah. Number 3, we're gonna go to Disney Springs and go to Raglan Road. So this is the Irish pub in Disney Springs. There's actually two kind of bars here. So there's obviously the main one inside, and there's the hole in the wall outside, which is a small patio area that has a full service bar. Um, that's one of our favorite places to just stop and grab a drink while we're walking around Disney Springs. They have probably, I'd say, the best beer selection on all of Disney property there. Between what they have on tap and the cans and bottles that they have, there's probably, I don't know, 50 or 60 things available at any given time. So that's why it's my favorite, like in this area. Um, and then for favorite drink, I really can't tell you one because they do have a lot of rotating beer. There's a really good brewery in Winter Garden, which is where we are, called Crooked Can, and they have maybe 4 or 5 beers on tap at any given moment, and I always like those. And they are an operating participant, so they don't have the same like restraints on what kind of providers they can work with. So they usually have a much better selection than if you were to just go to a regular bar at that like Disney owns and operates. So um, definitely a great beer selection there, and the food is pretty good too. A lot of times they'll have Irish dancers out there where you can watch that while you eat, and the soda bread to die for. So good.
Yeah. So I ranked Raglan Road as my number two. So jumping ahead a little bit, but I totally agree. Obviously, I think Raglan Road is a spot that is just continuously good. And I think they also are really great at bringing in traditional performers. So, like you said, the Irish step dancers, or they have families, like family bands that will come in, and it's all, Irish music. They have a really great brunch on the weekends. And it's a super fun spot to go to. I think it's super underrated too.
Mhm.
People are always like, I want to go to T Rex. And I'm like, don't go to T
Why?
Rex. No.
Yeah.
And I get it because it's very, it's family friendly. But I always say like Raglan Road is a really fun one to bring a family to because there's so much going on that while you're eating, if you have, kids that are kind of antsy and things like that, um, there's something for them to watch and see that what's going on because there's constantly music playing or, dancing and things like that. But I think from the drink side of it, I love Hole in the Wall, because it's just this like little spot that you can walk up to, and like anywhere that you can get a Guinness that's poured correctly, we're in. Um, and it's just, I don't know, it's a nice spot just to hang out. Also, they have the biggest beers. I've never gotten the large,
They
but
have
Pat has
32.
made this
They have
mistake.
32-ounce pours, and I did not see that that was the size of the beer. She said, large one? Sure. I didn't know I was getting an oil drum, but I did. Yeah, and very infrequently have we ever waited in line at the hole in the wall.
Yeah.
Unless there's an event going on, like
Hmm.
St. Patrick's Day, uh, we really have never waited more than like one person in front of us. It's usually pretty
Yeah.
accessible to just walk right up.
Yeah, and they do, like you were saying, do a special celebration for St. Patrick's Day. We did not partake because that's just not a group that
Gets
I need
busy.
to be. Yes, exactly. We were there, but we just didn't go to it.
Mhm.
But yeah, they do a really nice job of doing like different celebrations and things like that. So I think it's a really cool spot. I think if you've been to pubs in London, they've done a good job of kind of like recreating that look. Or I guess I shouldn't say London, it's
Ireland.
Ireland. So yeah, but I'm like, we didn't go to really pubs in Ireland. We went to,
I
well,
did.
you might have. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Pat was just in Dublin. So, but yeah, I agree with your number three. So
Yeah, and
good pick.
it's also huge. I think that it's a little deceiving when you see the outside of it. It is a monster of a like footprint. So there's a lot of time availability a little bit later on, and they are actually on Open Table as well, so you can make reservations through there if it is blocked out in Disney. And a lot of times there's still reservations available at Open Table.
Yeah, that's a pro tip. If you are looking for a Disney Springs restaurant, check and see if they are on Open Table because a lot of them are. So if you can't get a reservation through the Disney app, you can sometimes get it through Open Table. I feel like I've taught you so well, Pat, that you knew that. I'm so proud of you.
I know how to get in here.
All right. Do you want me to do my number three?
Yeah, you could do your number three, and then I'll do my two, since
That makes sense.
my number three was your number two.
Yeah. All right. So my number three is the Enchanted Rose over at the Grand Floridian. And I love this bar. I think that it is one of the prettiest locations on property. So this is upstairs on the second floor of the Grand Floridian. And it's basically it took the place of a couple different spaces. So where the Meisner's Lounge used to be, as well as there was a shop there, which was kind of like it looked very much like a pro shop type of look. It was all men's apparel and things like that. So it took the spot of those two areas. And I say that because that's the one thing about this bar that's kind of difficult. You actually have a wall between seating areas. So when you walk in, there's the main area has really beautiful seating, this gorgeous like chandelier and everything. There's a bar, there's seating off to the side, there's seating outside, but then you can also go around and there's like a library type of setup. And that is a separate room that is also a part of the Enchanted Rose. So it can be a little difficult, I think, sometimes for service there
Mhm.
because of that. But has a really great drink menu, great food too, some like little light apps and things like that. But I love the lavender fog. If you are a tea drinker, gin drinker, it's a really great mix, which are like two of my favorite things. So of course I have to love it. But they have some other great options and some a great wine list and champagne list as well.
Yeah. This was another one where it was hard for me to leave it off the list because I do like it a lot. Um, it just it's too many good bars at Disney. Um, I love the seasonal old fashioned depending on which season, which season it is. I've had a couple really good ones, like the maple one was really good, one of my favorite old fashions I've had. Um, they have a really good selection of top shelf liquors across the board. So this is a little bit of a fancier bar. So they do have like top shelf things here that is a little bit different from some of the other places, but uh, definitely a great pick. And I some of the seating in here I just can't stand. I'm very particular, and some of the seating arrangements are kind of awkward. So um, get there early so you don't have to sit in the awkward seats. But and a lot of times when it opens, it's kind of just seat yourself. And then once it gets a little bit more busy, then they start like putting you on a list.
Yeah. And we actually had our welcome reception type of thing here for our wedding. So it's also why I like it. Because we got married at the Swan and right, Swan and Dolphin area there. So people came in and then we met them there for drinks. So just a little nostalgia, I guess, too. But all right. So I did my number two already. So do you want to do your number two now?
Sure. My number two is actually the first one we're going to talk about in a park, right? None of yours are in the parks themselves.
Yeah, La Cava.
Oh, Lakawa. Okay. The second one that's in the park. This is going to be Nomad Lounge in Animal Kingdom. Um, I don't know. There is something about an air-conditioned room in Animal Kingdom that just calls to me. Um, they have a really good beer selection, including one of my favorite beers on property. Uh, and their like specialty drinks are really well themed, and I don't think I've really had anything I didn't like. Um, but I have my favorite one is the Tempting Tigress, which is again a bourbon drink. And it's got like a little bit of spice to it, which I really liked. Uh, and I really this is one of the few bars on property where we actually like to sit at the bar and not at a table somewhere. Um, I feel like all the bartenders there are there for a good time. Not that most of them aren't, but I feel like there in particular, it's just that's one of our favorite places to sit actually at the bar and not at a table somewhere.
Yeah. And the beer that you like is the Kungaloosh beer.
Kungaloosh.
And do you know why it's called Kungaloosh?
I do not. I'm sure I've been
Oh,
told before, but I don't
I was
remember
gonna
because the
say,
Kungalooshes.
I was like, I've definitely told you this before. So Kungaloosh was the basically like the word that they would say at the Adventurers Club. So the Adventurers Club was a club that was at Pleasure Island, which is now known as Disney Springs. And the Adventurers Club is the location that the Edison is at now. And the Adventurers Club was like this whole like improv group basically that would put on these different shows. I think they did like three a night or something. And we would go, there was like a family friendly version before a certain time. And like this was my family's favorite thing. We loved this and we loved the Comedy Warehouse in Pleasure Island. But at the Adventurers Club, they would do this whole song that was like marching along, we're adventurers. And then at the end, you had to do Kungaloosh. And it was this like, it was like the cheers basically. So keep it in your back pocket when you need to know that for trivia against my family.
I feel like I'd lose that anyway. It's not a battle I'm willing to get
Yeah.
into. But
But yeah,
some of
oh,
the
go
small
ahead.
plates here are really, really good. The chicken wings in particular, I don't know what is on them, but it's like a caramelly type sauce, and it's like doesn't sound great, but it's really, really good. And I mean, you can't go wrong with the churros either.
Yeah, the churros, I think the bread service is really great. And the charcuterie that's there is
We haven't had
good.
anything we didn't like there.
No, and I had a for Earth Week, they did a specialty salad, which was actually lettuce that was grown at the land in Epcot, and they had it there. And it was one of the best salads that I've ever had. I like salad in general, but it was so good. And like you could tell that it was fresh. But yeah, I don't think we've ever had anything we didn't like there. This one was my one that I was saying I was like between with La Cava and Nomad. And the only reason that Nomad doesn't rank in my top five um is because I just think it's like become so overrated.
Hmm.
It's like
It can be a long,
everyone's like,
can be a long wait here too,
yeah, and that is like that's why we've started to go to the bar too.
yeah,
Because if there's bar seats available, you can go and walk up to them. You don't have to be on the wait list
because
for
yeah,
them.
they won't put you on the wait list and then seat you at the bar. They won't do
Yeah.
that unless you
Um,
ask, which you don't have to because you can just go if there's an empty seat.
yeah, so that's what we've started to do. But I'm kind of like of the bars that are in Animal Kingdom, I think would tend to go to other ones now, just because I've been to Nomad so many times, and this is definitely like the privilege of living here, is we've been so many times, but I don't have this one ranked in my top five, but Restaurantosaurus Lounge is super fun if you've never
Meet
gone
Jimmy.
there. Yeah, it's called the secret bar, quote unquote, because there's like just this little, it looks like you're going
It's
into a trailer.
it's the hallway that they turned into a bar. It's like on a cart.
Yeah, pretty much. But extremely strong drinks. So just be prepared. Like you can probably drink one drink and you're done for the day. But Jimmy is the bartender there and he's awesome. Um, but yeah, I think that's why it didn't call to me to be in the top five when I was looking at is it La Cava or is it Nomad? That was kind of like the deciding factor.
So we have done 5 through 2 for both of us. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think we're on to number one because Raglan Road was two for me.
Perfect. Why don't you go ahead and share your favorite bar
All
to
right.
no one's surprise?
I know. I was gonna say nobody is surprised with this one, but it is Oga's Cantina in Galaxy's Edge in Disney's Hollywood Studios. Um, I am a huge Star Wars fan, so obviously I love this bar from the Star Wars aspect. But I think that the group at Disney World has done an incredible job at making this bar more of an experience than just you go in and you're like, oh wow, this is so cool looking.
Shout out
Um,
Jackson. He's
yes,
the man.
Jackson is amazing. The bartender there, one of the bartenders, but they have these like little like spiels and things like that. Like they've really turned this into a highly immersive experience. And I enjoy the drinks there. I know what, Pat's Pat's complaint about it is, or his one hold up, is that it's not a full bar. So there are set drinks and they're pre-mixed, a lot of them. Um, so there's that, but I love the Dagobah Slug Slinger if you're looking for a good tequila drink. I think the Outer Rim is really good, which is basically like a margarita. Um, there's a bunch of really good ones. So also the Tonneray is a very good Chardonnay, which is blue, and it was on the Star Cruiser, and that was the first time I had it was on the Star Cruiser. So again, nostalgia. But yeah, I love Ogas, and I will every chance that I get, I go.
Yeah, and that's probably why it's not in my top 5 because we go a lot. Um, and they did take away my favorite 2 beers that were here. So they have 4 beers on tap, and my 2 favorite are now gone. Um, so it just has to rank a little bit lower because it was so much better when those 2 beers were there. But I agree. I mean, I typically get the Dagobah Slugslinger. It's a very good tequila drink. Yeah, I don't have like a real complaint on this place other than they got rid of my beer. And that's why.
Yeah.
But like, I would never tell anyone to not go here. It is amazing, and it's one of those things you walk in there and you're expecting something cool, and it's just way cooler than what you were expecting. So definitely, you should. Everyone should go to Oga's if you have the opportunity to.
Yeah, and it's if you're a Star Wars person, Disney Parks person, DJ Rex, who is the droid, that's the DJ. There is Rex from Star Tours, who was the droid that was, piloting. So he has the spiel where it's like, sorry, it's my first flight. Like he says that still in Oga's, which the first time that I heard that, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Because I love Star Tours. So I don't know. It's definitely like for me, I still geek out when I go in there every time. But yeah, I just had to add that little piece in.
Cool. So
All
on to
right.
my number one, and it is probably not what a lot of people would expect it to be, because I think a lot of people do like the really like IP themed bars, but my favorite is actually the Rose and Crown in Epcot in England. There's just something about it. Like I know that a lot of the bars are really themed to like again IP and not to like a place, but I think this is the one location in Epcot that really nails the aesthetic and the feel of a bar in the country that it's supposed to be in. Um, Rose and Crown feels like a bunch of the pubs we went to in London, um, and one of the few places that has actual people from that country still working at the bar. So there's uh, a really good bar staff there, and they just have a lot of really good uh, British beer on tap, British and Irish beers on tap. So I typically get the Old Speckled Hen, which is a good beer from England. I wish that they would bring that. What's the cream ale that's in the Irish booth sometimes?
Oh, Kilkenny.
Kilkenny, which is, I mean, Kilkenny is just a Guinness product, but like those two are like my favorite beers to get in a park. So yeah, you can't go wrong here. It's always fun. Um, you will see a lot of people be very sloppy, which is enjoyable for me. But yeah, this is one of my favorites, if not my favorite.
Yeah, I love Rose and Crown. I didn't rank it because you can't really sit.
Yeah,
And
there
so
is no
I
seating.
mean, it goes, yeah. There's like a couple tables.
There's
But like it
basically no
makes,
seating.
yeah, it makes La Cava look like it's a full restaurant. So, but it is a super fun spot to go to. I think it's also there's just a lot of things that like for you and I that we really enjoy, and having been to London, Ireland, and Scotland and everything, there's definitely things where we're like, oh, remember that when we were there. So we definitely pull off of that. But um I also have to say though, I the reason that I can't rate it this high is because Carl is no longer there. And if you're listening to this and you know who Carl is, we can officially be best friends because Carl was the best. He was this old man from England, and he was just such a charmer. And I swear I mean, every, bridal shower, every bachelor party goes through there. And like, he was eating up those bachelorette parties. I loved this man. He was so funny and charming.
Yeah, and he's just retired. That
Yes.
is, he's
Oh, I hope I didn't make it sound like anything
yeah.
else.
Yeah, he was there for a really long time, and I definitely feel like it's a little bit worse without Carl, but still a place
Yeah.
I want to go.
Yeah. And good options. Like you said, there's also a whiskey flight there that you can
Yeah.
do. So yeah, and
Yeah,
good
and they have
food too if you want to grab stuff from Rose and Crown, from the restaurant as well.
they have a good selection of, as you might expect, Irish whiskeys. They have a really good selection. Like you mentioned, the flight. There's some like more expensive things that you can taste there as well, and they do have a full bar, so you can get whatever you want from there as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think we did a good job of covering different things because our options really, I mean, our picks really didn't line up too much, other than Raglan Road. But was there any bars that we didn't touch on that you would say are must-dos if someone's coming down and looking for a good spot?
Um, Depending on where you're staying, Bar Riva at Riviera is always a favorite. It is a pool bar, but it's like actually built into the structure of Riviera, so it's all covered. Um, Good drink selection. You can order food from the place that's adjacent. I don't know what the name of that restaurant is.
They Bar Riva actually has their own menu. So if you do order food there, you would just order it from their menu, and it is a little bit different than Primo Piatto, which is the quick service that's right next door.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever waited there either. That's one of those ones that
Mhm.
not too many people go to, and it's a little bit easier to get into, but a good spot where you can kind of enjoy the weather without being in the sun.
Yeah, I agree. I think Bar Riva is a good spot. Some other ones that I would say are just good ones to check out. Dahlia Lounge at Coronado Springs is the one that's up on the top floor. So it is across the hallway from Toledo, which is another great restaurant if you're looking for somewhere to go. And Dahlia, you can actually see the fireworks from Epcot really well. Magic Kingdom somewhat over there. So they don't like pump in the music or anything like that, but you can see the fireworks and they have kind of a patio area there. Um, but I think honestly, there's not many bars that I would say you don't need to go to. I think the only one that stands out to me that I would say like is probably my least favorite is the Outer Rim at Contemporary, because every time you
Yeah,
go there, it is it is so hard to get a drink. And also like people from the quick service come over and sit there. So it's just always very like messy.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Is there anything anywhere else where you'd be like, totally, you can skip this one?
Um, I mean, there's a couple that are just like not anything special in some of the parks, but yeah, I don't think there's really that many that are like not something you want to try.
Yeah, that's the only one that I would say. I will gladly avoid going to Outer Rim. And thankfully, if you're doing a monorail bar crawl, you don't have to go there because you can go to Steakhouse 71 Lounge. So, um, awesome. Well, anything else that we missed that you want to touch on?
Yeah, I think we'd be mad at ourselves if we didn't say how great Topolino's Terrace is.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
there's
Yep.
a really lovely bar up there, and you can go out and you can see from one of like the two rooftop bars in all of Disney. So definitely a great option, and they do have a good menu. We were just there a few weeks ago, and uh, we had some good drinks. I think that they do a nice
Yeah.
job.
Yeah. And I should say it's not really a rooftop bar because the bar is
Bar is
inside.
inside, but you can
Yeah.
take your drink out to the roof.
There's like a patio area. But it's in direct sun. So if you are
Yeah.
fair, like we are, just put on your sunscreen, I guess. But that you can see the fireworks from Epcot there as well. It will be kind of busy because people that are eating there will come out and everything at that point. But yes, that is a really good spot. And I think one that is often overlooked because it kind of hasn't like blown up yet. I think like some of the other ones have.
Yeah, Riviera is a little bit more difficult to get to from the parks than some other resorts, so I think it's not something people think about too often.
Yeah, so Riviera, if you do want to try to get over there, you can take the Skyliner from Epcot or from Hollywood Studios, and there's a stop for Riviera. So you can get over there and check those out. But Riviera is just a fun one to check out in general, I think.
It's a beautiful hotel. Even if you're not
Yeah,
going for a drink, go check it out.
definitely. Awesome. Well, I think we're gonna have to figure out what our next top 5 episode is going to be. But for now, we will thank you guys so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed our discussion, and we would love to hear from you what your top 5 bars are at Walt Disney World. And if you agreed or disagreed with us, let us know below. And if you are looking to plan a vacation to Disney, Universal, a cruise line, be sure to reach out to KMV Travel. All of our information is below. We offer complimentary as well as concierge assistance. And we look forward to talking to you guys again next time.